Hello, my name is Matthew Weaver, and I'm a graduate student at Purdue University studying commutative algebra. My advisor is Bernd Ulrich, and I'm currently on the academic job market. So I'd like to share a little bit of some of my research interests with you. I'm particularly interested in the study of Riesz algebras of ideals and modules, and there's lots of motivation to study these rings. The majority of the motivation is actually geometric. Riesz algebras primarily arise in the study of blowups of schemes along subschemes, but they can also be realized as the bihomogeneous coordinate ring of graphs of rational maps between projected varieties. They're also essential to the study of singularities. In a more algebraic context, Riesz algebras are used in the study of integral closure of ideals and modules and multiplicity theory. I study Riesz algebras by means of their defining equations. And once I have access to their defining equations, I use them to study certain properties and variants of Riesz algebras, most notably the Cohen-Macaulay property of Riesz algebras. But I'm also interested in certain other properties such as regularity, depth, and relation type. I'm also interested in how computational methods can be applied to commutative algebra, and in particular, how they can be used to produce the defining equations of Riesz algebras. So why study defining equations and defining ideals of Riesz algebras? Well, the Riesz algebra is an epimorphic image of a polynomial ring, and the defining ideal is exactly the kernel of that map. And certainly, if I can understand that ideal and its generators, the defining equations, I can completely understand the Riesz algebra, and I can write it as a quotient of a polynomial ring, where I can deduce many of those properties that I'm interested in. However, there are a couple of drawbacks. Most of the known results only pertain to Riesz algebras of specific classes of ideals and modules, and there's a couple of reasons for this. The defining ideal encodes all of the polynomial relations of on a generating set of an ideal, and for that reason, one is only able to study ideals and modules with nice syzygies, or in general, nice free resolutions may be of a predetermined form. Additionally, I'd like to impose strong homological constraints, and for that reason, I'd like to be in a setting where those properties are readily available. Thus, most of the results really relate to ideals and modules of polynomial rings. And that's where my research comes into play. I'm interested in Riesz algebras of ideals and modules, not of polynomial rings, but of factor rings of polynomial rings. And there's a couple of reasons to study ideals and modules in these rings in the Riesz algebras. On the ideal side of things, well, as previously mentioned, the Riesz algebra encodes the algebraic data of blowups. And for a Riesz algebra of an ideal is telling me everything I'd like to know about the blowup of the spectrum of my ring along the subscheme defined by an ideal. So if I'd like to consider blowups of different schemes or different spectra, well, I need to consider different rings and ideals in those rings in their Riesz algebras. Well, from a module point of view, it's also interesting that I could consider the module of differentials of such a ring. And the Riesz algebra, and after tensoring with the residue field, the special fiber ring, both are very closely related to the tangential variety defined by that factored ideal I. So there's lots of different reasons that I might be interested in studying Riesz algebras of ideals and modules in this setting. The problem is that this is difficult in general unless the factored ideal is small. So first, I'd like to consider when it's as small as it could be without being trivial, namely when it's a principal ideal. And for that reason, I'm interested in Riesz algebras of ideals and modules of hypersurface rings. And so far, my three big projects have been the study of the defining ideal of Riesz algebras for perfect ideals of grade 2 using the Hilbert-Birch theorem, perfect Gorenstein ideals of grade 3 using the Buchsbaum-Eisenbud structure theorem, and modules of projective dimension 1. In each of these three cases, I am successfully able to completely determine the defining ideal by using certain recursive algorithms. And in each case, a recursive algorithm is used to build the defining ideal up one new, fresh minimal generator at a time until a complete minimal generating set is achieved. On my CHAMP talk, on October 18th, I'll be talking about that first item, Riesz algebras of perfect ideals of codimension 2 and hypersurface ring, and the defining ideals of the Riesz algebras. If you'd like to learn more about my research or what recursive algorithms and how they're implemented, I hope to see you there.